Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Kay. We are back with another video. If you are new, thank you for tuning in. If you are wanting to be a part of a sisterhood that is learning as we go, pushing through the hard times, the difficult circumstances, and not giving up and holding each other accountable, then you are in the right place. If you're a returning subscriber, hey girl, and we're gonna get right into it. Today we are talking about unfulfilled longings and the power of prayer, and we'll be heavily discussing Hannah. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so I have been doing a study on the women in the Bible, and I have done Ruth already, I have done Esther, and I've stumbled upon Hannah now. And I think that Hannah is someone that we all can relate to in some way, and I can definitely attest to that. So Hannah, we learned about Hannah in 1 Samuel chapters 1 through 2. I do have some resources that I'm going to be using in this video. So this is from the Daily Grace Co. This is a Daughters of Grace Bible study, and it is the women of the Bible and the God of Grace. So we are going to talk about Hannah section in here, and then I also have a book by T.D. Jakes, When Women Pray, that he discusses Hannah in the first chapter, and I'm just going to share with you some tidbits from that, and then we'll go forward. So Hannah, like I said, is 1 Samuel's chapter 1 through 2. So we are introduced to Hannah at a time in the history of Israel when the nation was not focused on the Lord, and yet this young woman was. Hannah is the wife of Elkanah, and she was obviously very loved by him according to scripture. But Hannah did not have any children, and Elkanah had another wife, likely for that very reason. Hannah so deeply desired a child, her heart must have ached month after month as she was reminded of her infertility. Hannah could have become a bitter woman, and we probably would not have blamed her because of the heartache that she endured. Instead of living with bitterness, Hannah took her sorrow to the Lord. She poured out her heart to the Lord and promised him that if she was given a son, she would give him to the Lord for service all the days of his life. Hannah came to the temple each year with her husband, and on one particular trip, it seems that she stood out in the temple as she poured out her heart before the Lord in prayer. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 12 points out that she continued in prayer, and Hannah's life is certainly an example of persistent prayer. When it seemed she had nowhere else to turn, she continually turned to the Lord with the desires of her heart. In this time in Israel's history, when they were not focused on the Lord, her fervent prayer must have stood out. Eli the priest even questioned her, concerned that she may be drunk. In a time when many did not pour out their heart to the Lord, Eli must have been shocked. He immediately answered that God would grant her petition. Hannah had brought her burden to the Lord that day and poured out every part of her heart, and now she had left her burden at his feet. Just stopping there, how many times do, when we're going through something, or we really want something, or we have this longing for something or desire, do we just go to the Lord, tell him about it, and then leave it with him? Or do we carry it? That's just something to think about. Do you go to God and then continue to worry about it, or do you go to him, pour your heart out, and leave it in his hands for him to take care of? God did hear the prayer of Hannah, and 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 19 tells us that God remembered her. When her son is born, the overflow of her heart is jubilant praise to the Lord. Hannah's beautiful prayer that is recorded in 1 Samuel 2 praises God for who he is, shows us the depth of Hannah's knowledge of the Lord, and reminds us that Mary, the mother of Jesus, would someday write about her own son. Hannah kept her vow, and when her son was weaned, she took him to the temple where he would serve the Lord all the days of his life. It was a desperate time for the nation of Israel, and the desperate prayers of a young woman would give the nation the man that it needed to help bring the nation back to the Lord. Hannah's life reminds us to pour out our own hearts to the Lord. She reminds us that God hears our prayer and that there is value in passionate and persistent prayer. No matter what life brings us, we can turn to the Lord and take our sorrows to him. He does hear, and he will answer. And when he answers, let us be like Hannah, full of praise for who he is and all he has done. You don't even have to say much. It's just she really was persistent. She was praying so hard, did not care who seen her, did not care how loud she was. Eli thought she was drunk, walking around drunk, he thought, but she was praying. That's how into it she was. So in this book, she's actually the first page, and the theme is when women pray, God brings about new life. So it just talks about how Hannah was praying, how she had this longing for a child, but she was barren. And it goes off of two truths to learn about her. It points out 2 truths about Hannah. So the first truth is that Hannah lived with an unfulfilled longing. How many of us have something right now that you want so bad, and you're praying about it, and you've been praying about it, and you still don't have it? In her case, it was a child. Instead of carrying a child, she carried an unfulfilled longing. But there's another layer to Hannah's longing that is important to lay bare if you want to understand the depth of her situation, the depth of her sorrow. So it said way back in the book of Genesis, God made a promise to Eve that one of her descendants would rise up and crush the head of the serpent we know as Satan. The ancient Israelites, they used this promise as a constant source of hope. No matter how dark the world became, no matter how sinister people behaved, there remained a promise that from the Creator that evil would be defeated. So all the Hebrew women considered themselves blessed through childbearing because they didn't know who one of them was going to bring about this child that would bring about Jesus. So Hannah's longing was not only for a child, but for a chance to participate in that blessing, that promise that God gave us. She wanted a chance to deliver the one who ultimately delivered everyone. But since she could not have a child, she was excluded from that opportunity, which made her unfulfilled longing all more painful. Like I said, everyone probably has an unfulfilled longing that you have, and God knows that you have it. Maybe just like Hannah, you want a child right now. It says maybe you yearn for a spouse, maybe you want to be married, maybe you want to have a relationship, maybe you're longing for a career, maybe you're longing to figure out what your meaning or purpose is in life, maybe you're longing for a house, financial stability, all that. There's a longing. Everyone can relate to Hannah in some way. There's something that you want right now that you don't have. Maybe it's just a relationship with God, or building your relationship or your spiritual journey. Whatever your specific desire may be, we all carry the burden of unfulfilled longings. We all feel the burden and void of dreams yet to come true. If you have this longing, you can relate to the pain that Hannah feels. For women, it could be just the fact of having a child. That is something that a lot of women, that people don't even know, a lot of women struggle with. And that is a deep pain when you have that deep desire to be a mom, to have your first child, to have your second child, any of that. Just to be a mom, that is a longing that is very evident in our world today. In the story, there was Elkanah's second wife, Peninnah. She could have children, and she would taunt Hannah and say, make it known, you don't have any children. Make it just present that she can't have children. So what do you do when you're around other people who have what you want? What do you do when you've been praying for something and you see someone else have it and maybe they're not stewarding it as you would, or you don't think that they are using it or doing it wisely or doing it correct, or if you had it, you would do it this way? How do you respond to that? That's something to really think about, because with this time of social media, we see what everybody's doing. We see what everybody has. Whether it's true or an accurate representation, we see it. And what does that do in your spirit? Does it bring about bitterness, envy, all the things that we shouldn't be feeling, but we're human and do? This is a moment to just reflect on that, because I'm sure everyone has been in a situation and be like, if I had that, I'd be doing that. They're wasting that, blah, blah, blah. Or I would do this better. Or how come they have it and I don't have it and I've done blah, 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 blah. There's so many times we're looking at what other people have instead of being this is something that's been in a lot of sermons I listen to. Why do we pick on what other people have and get so focused on that and not realize that if God can do it for them, He can do it for us? If He can do it for them, He can do it for me. And to adapt and change your perspective to that, okay, if He's over there working, He's nearby. God's in the neighborhood. That's what people always say. God's in the neighborhood. You just gotta wait on when it's your turn. It just might not be your time. He has a timetable and a plan for all of us. And if you're so worried about everybody else, you're gonna miss what He's doing in your life and wants to do in your life. So just think about how you respond when you are provoked or you see someone with something that you want. It says, when you see someone living out a blessing you have longed to receive, you get that bitter taste in your mouth. You covet, imagining how sweet life would be if you had what she has and she were stuck with what you've been dealing with all these years. She doesn't even appreciate what she's got. Why in the world would God be so generous in her life when I've been praying and sacrificing and working for so much longer than she has? You can even reach a point in your envy and bitterness that you try to tear the other person down to make yourself feel better. You can fool yourself into believing that making your rival feel smaller will somehow increase your own stature. The temptation is real to covet, be bitter, and to be envious. But we have to shift and to not be provoked, we must pray like Hannah. You're spending all that time talking, being worried about the wrong things, when take what you are feeling and pray about it. Pray to God about it. And you don't have to pray this illustrious prayer that sounds like a preacher or a pastor. God knows that we are not all like that. He just wants to hear from you. He wants to hear from your words, your heart. If you are angry, be angry. Be angry. God, I am upset that I don't have this and I want this. I am upset. I don't understand why I don't have it. I don't understand why it's taken so long. This is what I want. Continue to go to him in prayer. Try not to be so pointing about other people, but he knows. He places these desires in our hearts. He knows our hearts. He knows what we want. And he will or he will not give it to you, but either way, everything that he does is for our good. It's for our best interest. And when we realize that, maybe we won't be so upset. But sometimes things just don't happen the way we want to, and that's because he's all-knowing. We do not know. He sees everything. He knows everything. We only know what we know, and we only see what we see. We do not have that. He's omnipotent. We are not. We just want what we want. And one of the things that pointed out is Jesus went through the same thing. He did not really want to go on the cross. He didn't want to do that. That was a lot of pain he had to go through. But he says, please, if there's another way, can we do another way? But if not, your will be done. Like, he accepted, if it's not going to go the way I want to, it's your will. He trusted in that, and that was that. So even Jesus went through the same feelings that we have, which is nice to know, because often we think that we are in this alone and no one understands how we feel, but a lot of the things we go through, Jesus went through. God has a plan for us. He might be telling us to wait. He might be telling us not yet. You might think that there's no hope and that your dream is dead, what you want is dead, and there's nothing that you could do and it's over. But our God is a resurrecting God. He can bring things back from the dead. Anything is possible. There's nothing too big. There's no circumstance too big, no situation too big. He is the one who can make it happen. So just continue to go to him. Prayer is a key that unlocks blessings. And when women pray, God brings about new life. And we see that with Hannah. She was persistent. She did not stop. She continued to pray, and she knew who to go to and when to go to him. And it was all the time. And then to be thankful when God does come through for you and he does give you and bless you with what you are asking for and requesting, give him the praise that he deserves. Without him, it wouldn't be possible. Give him the praise he deserves. Someone may be going through the same thing as you, and you going through it and getting through it and giving the credit where the credit belongs, that's encouragement for somebody else. There is probably something that went on in your life that you can share and use your testimony to help others to see that God, if God can do it for you, he can do it for me. And I think that's just the main theme that I just wanted to share today. I just really enjoyed learning about Hannah. I felt a great connection just in the time of just wanting things, just having a longing and a desire of your heart, and knowing that no matter what, just to bring it to God and just wait on him and trust in his timing. That's basically the theme of everything, is just trusting in his timing and trying not to get frustrated. But even if you are frustrated, just continuing to pray, God, I'm frustrated. I am stressed out. This is what I'm desiring. This is my thought process. This is how I feel right now. And just bring it to him. And then he will move. When the time is right, he will move. So the theme of today is to pray and understand the power of prayer. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I am going to be dissecting all the women in the Bible, and maybe I'll do something, make videos about all of them. Just let me know if this is something that you liked, and if you would like me to do more women in the Bible, let me know. Like I said, I have done Ruth already, I have done Esther, and I plan on doing something a little more in depth with them because I really love their stories. So let me know. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.